like was an insult to the French. Mitterrand was a bold man, Langdon replied, splitting the difference. The late French president who had commissioned the pyramid was to have suffered from a pharaoh complex. Single-handedly responsible for filling Paris with Egyptian obelisks, art, and artifacts, François Mitterrand had an affinity for Egyptian culture that was so all-consuming that the French still referred to him as the Sphinx. "What is the captain's name?" Langdon asked, changing topics. "Bezoufache," the driver said, approaching the pyramid's main entrance. "We call him Le Taureau." Langdon glanced over at him, wondering if every Frenchman had a mysterious animal epithet. "You call your captain the Bull?" The man arched his eyebrows. "Your French is better than you admit, Monsieur Langdon." "My French stinks," Langdon thought, "but my zodiac iconography is pretty good." Taurus was always the bull. Astrology was a symbolic constant all over the world. The agent pulled the car to a stop and pointed between two fountains to a large door in the side of the pyramid. "There is the entrance. Good luck, monsieur." "You're not coming?" "My orders are to leave you here. I have other business to attend to." Langdon heaved a sigh and climbed out. "It's your circus." The agent revved his engine and sped off. As Langdon stood alone and watched the departing taillights, he realized he could easily reconsider, exit the courtyard, grab a taxi, and head home to bed. Something told him it was probably a lousy idea. As he moved toward the mist of the fountains, Langdon had the uneasy sense he was crossing an imaginary threshold into another world. The dreamlike quality of the evening was settling around him again. 20 minutes ago, he had been asleep in his hotel room. Now he was standing in front of a transparent pyramid built by the Sphinx waiting for a policeman they called the Bull. "I'm trapped in a Salvador Dali painting," he thought. Langdon strode to the main entrance, an enormous revolving door. The foyer beyond was dimly lit and deserted. "Do I knock?" Langdon wondered if any of Harvard's revered Egyptologists had ever knocked on the front door of a pyramid and expected an answer. He raised his hand to bang on the glass, but out of the darkness below a figure appeared, striding up the curving staircase. The man was stocky and dark, almost Neanderthal, dressed in a dark double-breasted suit that strained to cover his wide shoulders. He advanced with unmistakable authority on squat, powerful legs. He was speaking on his cell phone, but finished the call as he arrived. He motioned for Langdon to enter. "I am Bezoufache," he announced as Langdon pushed through the revolving door. "Captain of the Central Directorate Judicial Police." His tone was fitting, a guttural rumble, like a gathering storm. Langdon held out his hand to shake. "Robert Langdon." Fache's enormous palm wrapped around Langdon's with crushing force. "I saw the photo," Langdon said. "Your agent said Jacques Saunière himself did—" "Mr. Langdon." Fache's ebony eyes locked on. "What you see in the photo is only the beginning of what Saunière did." Chapter 4. Captain Bezoufache carried himself like an angry ox, with his wide shoulders thrown back and his chin tucked hard into his chest. His dark hair was slicked back with oil, accentuating an arrow-like widow's peak that divided his jutting brow and preceded him like the prow of a battleship. As he advanced, his dark eyes seemed to scorch the earth before him, radiating a fiery clarity that forecast his reputation for unblinking severity in all matters. Langdon followed the captain down the famous marble staircase into the sunken atrium beneath the glass pyramid. As they descended, they passed between two armed judicial police guards with semi-automatic machine guns. The message was clear. Nobody goes in or out tonight without the blessing of Captain Fache. Descending below ground level, Langdon fought a rising trepidation. Fache's presence was anything but welcoming, and the Louvre itself had an almost sepulchral aura at this hour. The staircase, like the aisle of a dark movie theater, was illuminated by subtle tread lighting embedded in each step. Langdon could hear his own footsteps reverberating off the glass overhead. As he glanced up, he could see the faint illuminated wisps of mist from the fountains fading away outside the transparent roof. "Do you approve?" Fash asked, nodding upward with his broad chin. Langdon sighed, too tired to play game. Yes, your pyramid is magnificent. Fash grunted.
A scar on the face of Paris.
Strike one. Langdon sensed his host was a hard man to please. He wondered if Fash had any idea that this pyramid, at President Mitterrand's explicit demand, had been constructed of exactly 666 panes of glass. The bizarre request that had always been a hot topic among conspiracy buffs, who claimed 666 was the number of Satan. Langdon decided not to bring it up. As they dropped further into the subterranean foyer, the yawning space slowly emerged from the shadows. Built 57 feet beneath ground level, the Louvre's newly constructed 70,000 square foot lobby spread out like an endless grotto. Constructed in warm ochre marble to be compatible with the honey-colored stone of the Louvre facade above, the subterranean hall was usually vibrant with sunlight and tourists. Tonight, however, the lobby was barren and dark, giving the entire space a cold and crypt-like atmosphere. And the museum's regular security staff? Langdon asked.
En quarantine,
Fash replied, sounding as if Langdon were questioning the integrity of Fash's replacements.
Obviously someone gained entry tonight who should not have. All Louvre night wardens are in the Sully Wing being questioned. My own agents have taken over museum security for the evening.
Langdon nodded, moving quickly to keep pace with Fash.
How well did you know Jacques Saunière?
The captain asked. Actually, not at all. We'd never met. Fash looked surprised.
Your first meeting was to be tonight?
Yes. We'd planned to meet at the American University reception following my lecture, but he never showed up. Fash scribbled some notes in a little book. As they walked, Langdon caught a glimpse of the Louvre's lesser-known pyramid, Le Pyramide Inversée, a huge inverted skylight that hung from the ceiling like a stalactite in an adjoining section of the entresol. Fash guided Langdon up a short set of stairs to the mouth of an arched tunnel, over which a sign read, Denon. The Denon wing was the most famous of the Louvre's three main sections.
Who requested tonight's meeting?
Fash asked suddenly.
You or he?
The question seemed odd. Mr. Saunière did, Langdon replied as they entered the tunnel. His secretary contacted me a few weeks ago via email. She said the curator had heard I would be lecturing in Paris this month and wanted to discuss something with me while I was here.
Discuss what?
I don't know. Art, I imagine. We share similar interests. Fash looked skeptical.
You have no idea what your meeting was about?
Langdon did not. He'd been curious at the time, but had not felt comfortable demanding specifics. The monolithic Jacques Saunière had a renowned penchant for privacy and granted very few meetings. Langdon was grateful simply for the opportunity to meet him.
Mr. Langdon, can you at least guess what our murder victim might have wanted to discuss with you on the night he was killed? It might be helpful.
The pointedness of the question made Langdon uncomfortable. I really can't imagine. I didn't ask. I felt honored to have been contacted at all. I'm a fan of Mr. Saunière's work. I use his texts often in my classes. Fash made note of that fact in his book. The two men were now halfway up the Denon Wing's entry tunnel, and Langdon could see the twin ascending escalators at the far end, both motionless.
So you shared interests with him?
Fash asked. Yes. In fact, I've spent much of the last year writing the draft for a book that deals with Mr. Saunière's primary area of expertise. I was looking forward to picking his brain. Fash glanced up.
Pardon?
The idiom apparently didn't translate. I was looking forward to learning his thoughts on the topic.
I see. And what is the topic?
Langdon hesitated, uncertain exactly how to put it. Essentially, the manuscript